And we are live. So I am so excited today. We have another live session with two amazing people. We have Shilpi and Dorothy, but I would like to have them introduce themselves to you this evening. We're going to be talking a lot about teacher wellness, educator wellness with two amazing people that I know have helped me personally. But let's start. Shilpi, we'll start with you. If you could introduce yourself to everyone, let us know a little bit about you, what you do, and I'll give you the floor.
Hi, everybody. I'm the founder of Fablefy, and at Fablefy, our goal is anytime mindfulness. We provide very easy to use mindfulness resources that teachers and parents can incorporate in their classroom. These are bite-sized in animation form and very endearing for kids. You can visit us at fablefy.com and our YouTube channel, Fablefy, and have us and use your resources in your classrooms.
Awesome. And I'm Dorothy Vanderjagt, and some of you know me on Twitter at iFireUp. So that's my website and all that good information. But I was a teacher for 10 years, a principal for 11 years, director of teaching and learning for 4 years. And now I work at the university level, and we work with 152 schools. It's a grant to help these schools with literacy and leadership. So it's awesome. Love working in the schools, like to get in with instructional rounds and see all these teachers. I recently released Permission to Pause, a book with Times 10 Publications. And I know, Chuck, you have a book with them as well. So a great company. But we combined the three of us tonight because Shilpi and I are really connected on Twitter, and we share a lot of the same beliefs and practices and help with staff. It's interesting because I presented all over the country on different topics, and self-care just kept rising and rising and rising because 44% of our teachers, our new teachers, in the first 5 years, they leave the profession. There's so much stress in the surveys that are given out there by teachers. So we really want to focus on this, and more power when we do this together.
I agree. And I think I want to first say thank you so much for both of you to come in here and share your wisdom with all of us and your knowledge, because I know that this conversation is going to be not only powerful, but very helpful to so many people. I know, for instance, for myself, I will be going into the hybrid style of teaching on Monday, and it's a little bit stressful. I mean, remote teaching has been tough. It's been a lot of work. And to be honest with you, I have found myself a little bit more stressed than normal and putting in more hours. And I think that it's been very difficult to really take care of myself as well. And I think so many of my fellow teachers are feeling the same way. So to have both of you here and in this conversation is awesome. Before I start, though, I did want to throw the websites up again for anyone that wanted to visit them. We do have fablefy.com. That is Shilpi's website. I would recommend that you go there. The mindfulness practices, everything you can find there are absolutely awesome and wonderful. We'll put these up again at the end, but I wanted to make sure that you do write that down, visit that after our session. And then, of course, ifireup.com is Dr. Dorothy's website, and it is awesome as well. So there's so many resources that are available in both of these websites. We'll put them up again later, but make sure you write those down when you can. So I'd like to get started today, though. Shilpi, with you, I know that Fablefy has a lot of mindfulness practices, as you were saying, and I think sometimes mindfulness is something that teachers, and I know for myself, it's not something that I think, oh, this is something that I can do, or maybe it's going to take too much time or things like that. And honestly, I don't know what to do. What does that mean? So I thought I wanted to start with you, and maybe you can share with us some simple mindfulness practices that teachers can do to help with our wellness.
So Chuck, first of all, I want to introduce what mindfulness really is, because most people really don't know what mindfulness is. People think it's like sitting for hours in a meditative practice. But I mean, honestly, to begin with, mindfulness is simply about attention and intention and bringing yourself back into the present moment. And the three operative words are with curiosity, without judgment, and with full self-compassion for yourself. That is what mindfulness is. And it starts with, I mean, you don't really need 15 minutes or 20 minutes to sit in a meditative practice. All it takes is a minute every, even if you practice for a minute every hour or every 2 hours, and just bring in that intentional stillness into your life focus on your breath, focus on your body. If you're not a person who likes to be still, you can do a walking meditation. Just, feel how your, feet touches the ground. Focus on the sounds. Focus on the smell. I mean, any simple grounding practice that brings you back into the present moment is a mindfulness practice. As simple as 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things that you can smell, 2 things that you can feel, and 1 thing that you can eat. I mean, as simple as that. You can, start somewhere like that with a mindfulness practice.
Absolutely.
And I would say, Shilpi, I actually like that. I'm a person that needs simple things. I want to make sure that this is as easy as it can be for me. I absolutely love what you just said, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 type of a strategy, because I am a language arts teacher, right? So we often talk about sensory details, and we add that into our writing. And for me, it kind of clicks to me like that's pretty cool, because it wouldn't take me long to really focus on those senses, right? Really kind of center in and do that. And I loved number 1 because I like to eat. So it would be great to have that, almost like that reward. Okay, let me see, what can I see? What can I feel? What can I touch? And what can I eat, right? And I think when I think of mindfulness, I have to admit, I kind of was thinking what you had said before, that I'd have to sit for 20 or 30 minutes in a relaxing state, things like that. And that almost stresses me out because I don't have that time to do it. So yeah, I absolutely love that. I love that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm actually going to do that. I think I'm going to use it with the kids too. I never thought of that as mindfulness. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, because essentially anything that brings you back to yourself and to your body, like there are only 2 anchors just think like this. There are only 2 anchors that stay with you all the time, your breath and your body. So anything that brings you back to your body or brings you back to the breath is mindfulness.
Exactly. And I see people are saying the same thing. We kind of overthink mindfulness. I think it has to be a lot more. Coffee meditation would be something that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Mindfully drinking your coffee, smelling it, feeling the taste, and just even going into the history. I mean, where could that coffee beans come from? It's kind of brings the interconnectedness of all the things.
I absolutely love that. I really do. And I, like I had said before, I never really thought of mindfulness in the way that you're describing it. So to me, it really, I would say, is something that I think is realistic, right? It's something realistic, and it's something that we can do, which is awesome. And I kind of want to lead into with unless you want to share any other mindfulness practices.
I'll do it along the way, but let's hear Dorothy.
What I'd like to do is, Dorothy, I'd actually like to ask you a little bit about gratitude practices, because I think that part of wellness is gratitude. And I know that we have talked in the past, even at some length, about the power of different ways of showing gratitude and how that could impact us. So I would love to know your take on any gratitude practices that would help teachers, especially in the current situation with wellness.
The more you study experiencing gratitude and expressing it, the more you find the research really supports it, that it helps you, just with your joy and it's creativity and all sorts of things, just helps with stress relievers. So it's really important, because a lot of times we think, I don't have time for self-care. Self-care is expensive. I just don't have time for this, but we have to. And it goes back to when you're on that airplane. And I know you say this a lot, but it's so true. Put that oxygen mask on first, because you're going to be out and you're going to be down before the count, before you know it, before you can help anybody else. And that's our job. We're helping little ones, or big ones at the high school level, but and administrators are helping teachers. So it's not, just teachers that need it too. It's the principals, and you have to invest in the time. A lot of my group and my following, obviously they journal, and we talked about that. And there's a nice reflection piece that they like to do in there. But I love using the gratitude jar too, because there's so many different ways you can do that. You can do it with students. You can do it with teachers. You can do it with your own family. You can pull out positive quotes. You can write about them. You can talk about them. You can put in things that you're grateful for. So you can take that just to another level. I've seen a staff, because I used it with some principals. And one of the principals took the gratitude, everybody put their little slips in there, and then he made a shout out board in his lounge with all the pieces of gratitude, because sometimes teachers don't hear it enough. And right now, during crazy COVID that we're in, the stress is through the roof because, there's parents on both ends, that some are like, we need to mask up. And then there's some that are like, don't do that. We shouldn't be doing that. So teachers are trying to navigate that. Administrators are trying to navigate that. And they're trying to educate the children. And then are they going to be online tomorrow, or are they going to be teaching face to face? They're not sure. So lots of different ways that you can express gratitude. But, when you can share those out with people so that they can see them, whether it's at a staff meeting or even virtually with the kids. I've seen teachers use the quotes and talk about the positive quotes and things that they're grateful for. And some people incorporate it into dinner time. Brene Brown said that that's what they do at their dinner time, to talk about, she spends after, they pray, what are they all grateful for? And she said at first it was like, yeah, whatever. And now she said it's just, they look forward to it. The family looks forward to it. So the more you do it, the more it becomes a routine. And that's what we want to make self-care. We don't want to make self-care a one-time thing. Okay, it's cold, but I need some self-care. Give me some self-care. No, we want to make this a common practice, part of our life, so that, we stay stronger, healthy physically. And we'll get into that too, the physical pieces. But Shilpi's the one that really, I'm like you. I'm a type A, like, let's go, Chuck, let's get her done. I mean, to sit there to think I'm going to meditate for a while, I'm like, but I found out that I'm going to say the Alexa and she's going to go off, but I'll say, play some meditation music. And I will sit there. Now, I don't probably meditate as much as Shilpi does and get into it, as deep. I don't know, but it calms me down, and I have a cup of tea then, not my cup of coffee, because I'm a wildcat. So I have the tea, I have that, and then I try to read a little bit because it calms my mind, or I will journal during that point. So I'm kind of doing the mindfulness and the gratitude at the same time. So that seems to be really effective for me.
And I would say, Dorothy, I really think one powerful thing that you said there that kind of stuck with me as I was just listening was the fact that this is something you want to kind of make part of your life, right? It's wellness is not a, like a quick fix type of a thing, or, oh, now I'm in a stressful situation, let me sit down and, do something that's going to help me feel better. I will say the reason why it stuck with me is because that's something that I'm guilty of a lot, right? Like, I will find myself stressed and I'll say, you know what, I just need to go and, sit quietly somewhere. And then my brain is going about what I'm stressed about anyway. Why? Because it's not part of my routine. And I've been working very hard personally to make these things part of my routine. And I'm very similar to you in that I can find, let me read a book, or let me do something like that helps me relax my mind. One thing I do with my devices is I make sure that I turn them all off as much as I can, at least half an hour before I go to bed, and then focus there. I like to try an hour or longer, but honestly, that doesn't always happen, but at least 30 minutes to relax my mind away from that. But I totally agree. I think that routine is important. It can't be the emergency wellness type thing. It has to be part of what we do.
And the more you research it and read about the different practices, the more you realize the strong medical research behind a lot of this too. Like, it stimulates the brain, it keeps you youthful. I mean, just it's Shilpi, just the amazing benefits of practicing.
No, absolutely. I think gratitude is by far more researched than anything else out there. People who practice gratitude every day, they end up, living longer, they're healthier, they're happier. There is a lot of interrelationship between self-care and gratitude. And I think the main thing with the gratitude practice is a perspective setting it brings, Is something I'm complaining about, or something I'm getting stressed about, is it worth it? Because there's so much more in my life to enjoy. So to me, gratitude practice is like, and if you integrate it with like a mindfulness practice, I think there's nothing like that. Just sit, reflect, work on a gratitude jar. A practice I shared was a lotus of gratitude, which was like, just bringing your palms together like a lotus flower, and then just bringing one finger out and making a lotus and counting 10 blessings that you have in life. And you can do it with the family, you can do it with the class, and just probably do it in quiet contemplation, or you discuss with each other. So, I love gratitude practices. It's run me through COVID,
It has. in the group that we're in talks a lot too, Shilpi, about the noticing, and we've been going outside noticing, and we've really forced each other through Twitter to do that. And so on the walk, you're looking at the tree and, oh my gosh, there's like 5 different colors today. And there were, only 4 yesterday or whatever. And you really notice. And then we kind of report to each other. So it's nice to have that accountability, and the kids go outside. You go outside with the kids. You can talk about the different things. It could be something in their home environment too. It's just noticing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think, again, going back to the simple, maybe I'm just simple-minded, but I absolutely love both of the thing. Well, Shilpi, when you had said the lotus flower, I thought, well, that's really cool. And then I thought you were just going to say, count to 10. But then the fact that you had, or whatever it was, but then what you had said was count those blessings that you have, right? Demonstrate that gratitude. In my brain, I'm thinking that's something I could literally do in 10 seconds. I could get that part in and refocus myself. Absolutely love that strategy. Even with kids, like we could do that in class. My friend Tatiana is on right now. This is a longtime friend of mine. Awesome teacher. She's in the college level right now. But she does this as well with her classes. And I see that she likes this hands-on strategy as well. So I had to pull that up there. But I absolutely love that. And then Dorothy, and I know you guys were talking about noticing. I never noticed that that's something that I will do. I like to run, right? I like to get out and run personally. And it's something, I don't necessarily share, oh, I ran this much on this day, or, I don't necessarily share it a lot because I look at it as something that's just very personal to me. I don't do it as a competition, but I do that often when I run. If I'm stressed or whatever, I take time to run and I try and notice the positive things around me. And I didn't even think of that as being something as self-care. Just an interesting thing to think about. So I love those 2 simple things, the lotus flower and the noticing. Like I absolutely love it.
I have to say this one too, because we have a college professor on here, and this is years ago, because I'm not young as everybody else. But anyway, she was a college professor years ago, and she said what we should do before tests. And it was a reading course, and I'll never forget it, because she said, I know you guys are pulling all-nighters. And I'm thinking, yeah, we had M&Ms about 4 a.m. studying for our stuff. She said, I want you to all go like this. She made us do this in in our classes in undergrad, and hug ourselves and put our head down. And she made us hug ourselves for 10 seconds, at least 10 seconds. You can do it longer. She said, you'll perform better on tests. Do that. And you know what? It did relax us in there. Like the professors that Tatiana says, calms your nerves. It did calm us down before we took the test. It really did.
Yeah. That again, hugging yourself is a great self-love practice. I mean, it's my favorite too. I mean, days that when I'm down, I just go in front of the mirror and give myself a big tight hug, because I mean, sometimes you need to do it for yourself. I mean, sometimes you need yourself to love you more, because I think what we lack most as people is self-compassion. And when you bring in a physical act of hugging yourself, that's when you actually bringing in the compassion that you have for your students or for others around you and your family into your own being. So it's like, it's again a grounding practice, grounding yourself, your love into yourself kind of thing. So I love that practice. I do it with my kids too. And it's all loving, as Janet says, loving kindness. Yes. It's a really intentional part of mindfulness as well.
And I think, I'd have to totally agree, because I think that all of these strategies, now I'm kind of learning, I guess, that they tie into mindfulness, right? And gratitude and wellness, right? I think, and I'm really glad that you both came on. I still have a couple things I want to talk about, but I'm actually, my mind's kind of getting open to some of these things, because they don't seem as overwhelming. Again, like I had said, I'm very simple, and I like these simple strategies. But I do want to ask you, and maybe I'll put you on the spot a little bit, or pick your brain on this. And I know we talked briefly before this, but on pandemic fatigue, right? So I think right now there's so many of us that would be going through this, but I'd love for you to touch on it. Like, what does that mean? How can we kind of get through this and take care of ourselves through this pandemic fatigue? And I'll start with Shilpi. You can touch it just a little bit.
So, first of all, I feel that a genuine acceptance of the fact that we're all getting fatigued is a good starting point. I mean, I do meditate every day, and like you, I'm a runner, and I go out running, like not every day, maybe alternate days. But I feel overwhelmed on certain days because you're taking care of the kids. You're making sure they're online and in the classroom. You're making sure that you are on track with your work, which is, I mean, in my case, it's getting immensely affected because I have to keep on switching on my brain. I mean, there's always a switch on off button. Okay, the kids are calling, they need food. Like, especially as mothers, I don't know. A lot of dads partake in the household work, but I probably am spending more time with the children. And there is enough research out there telling that mothers are actually taking a lot of brunt during pandemic. And the fact is that, yes, I am getting fatigued. I am getting overwhelmed. And the most important thing I found early on in the pandemic was taking that time for myself. Taking that alone time, even if it's 15 minutes during the day, which just belongs to me. And, just it could be either going out for a walk, getting in touch with nature, or just listening to some music or reading a book or just meditating. Those self-care moments are critical to the fatigue that's building in all of us. Talk to a friend, multiple things out there to do. Accept that there is overwhelming happening in you, and that's where you can actually, the thing is, name it to tame it. You identify your feelings on an everyday basis, record it, tell yourself, yes, this is what I'm feeling, and then that's a starting point of healing yourself or a journey towards resolving that issue that's coming up again and again.
And don't be too hard on yourself. That's key, because we all feel like, oh my Lord, am I doing enough? Am I doing enough? Or am I reaching enough kids? Am I getting into enough schools? And you're doing what you can do. You are doing the best that you can do. And that's what we all can expect. Everybody's a different phase. And don't look at social media and say, oh, they have it all together. I have a friend who, she has 3 little ones, and what you said, she hides in her closet so that she can have her 15 minutes when the kids were home, with schooling, because she had to do that. But she gets out and runs. I get out and walk. You have to keep, and it goes back to making it a routine. So it's your habit. It's what you're constantly doing, so that it helps, because yes, it's pandemic, but Chuck, it could be people going through a divorce. It could be a death. I mean, there's always something that somebody's going through right now. It's unusual because it's the world, but there's a lot going on, and this has been for an extended time, and people are getting a little bit, fatigued and a little uptight, and lots of different things going on. So you have to have that self-care in there, because we know it's research proven that it helps de-escalate us a little bit.
I agree. And I love that you both kind of mentioned the fact that we're all kind of going through this. And like you had said, Dorothy, it's not necessarily the pandemic. It could be other types of fatigue that we're going through. And I really like, and the reason I left this up there, I like the name it to tame it kind of framework, right? If we can name it, essentially realize that, okay, this is something that I'm going through, but then we can find ways to tame it, right? To kind of work through that. And at the same time, to not be ashamed at the fact that we aren't doing enough, right? I think that one of the worst possible things, kind of what you touched on, to do, especially now, but at any time, is to compare yourself to somebody else. Like, they're doing this and I need to do more. I agree. I think that, if what you're doing is enough. You're doing, as a teacher, you're teaching every day, whether it's remote or hybrid right now, and that's enough, right? You're getting through that. But I think I love both of those thought process on how this wellness idea and this wellness routine should be part of everything that we do. So awesome. So what I want to do is I'm just going to quickly go through what we've talked about. For anyone that just came on, we were talking about mindfulness practices, which again, if you're like me and you're simple, these are great. I love the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 sensory stuff we chatted about. Our gratitude practices we were talking about, with a lot of things like our gratitude journal, how administrators can show gratitude for teachers could show gratitude for one another, for their students. I'm blessed, and I didn't say this before, but I'm blessed to have a great group of administrators in my building that I'm very thankful for. They're very patient with me with certain things that I might not get in on time, and that's something that I'm really grateful for. But I think that they do a really good job of letting the teachers know that we are appreciated as much as they can, and I think that that's something that's really powerful. But then we also talked about pandemic fatigue just now, and the importance of, kind of like we said, name it to tame it, and understand that you can only do what you can do, and don't compare yourself. But as we end the conversation, because I like to go for about 25, 30 minutes, as we end it, do you guys have any last minute or last words of wisdom that you'd like to share on anything with wellness or mindfulness, or anything to encourage, or give a strategy that teachers could use as we end today?
I just want anybody watching, Janet said some things. It's great. You connect on Twitter, and you guys have really, you connected. Now you have this network. So continue to learn and collaborate. Don't do it on your own. There's people out there that'll help. I know Shilpi, direct message her on Twitter, or myself or Chuck, and we can send ideas too. And with colleagues, find your support group, because those friends and family, and make sure you're the positive ones, you don't want to be with the ducks quacking in the lounge that are negative. You want to surround yourself with positive. And I want to go back to the students too, because we want to check in with those kids, and it could be the fun dog scale feeling, or the cats or whatever, but keep checking in. And the little ones, they love to do this, but as you get high school, try to find some activities that work for you. And you want to think there's a lot of pressure on these kids. So think of the pandemic fatigue and the things going on. And one thing I passed out when I was doing a PD, you can't see them, but these cards I got them at like Marshall's cheap. They're Be kind to yourself. You deserve it. And there's lots of nice things, but you could make something like that. Mail a card to one of your students, especially if you're, not teaching face-to-face and you don't see them, or your students, the school could mail them. You don't have to spend all the money for it, but those high school kids need encouragement, because they just see that, ooh, this is the show on social media, and there's some unkind things on there. So as much as we can help those kids do self-care and build up their self-confidence, that's just huge to me.
Cool.
Yeah, and I would like to add to what Dorothy said. Two things. First of all, invest in yourself. Take time for yourself, because if you're looking at creating a whole child, you have to be a whole teacher. So you can't be a whole teacher will lead to a whole child. You can't be doing that without, really taking care of yourself, and especially during these times. The other thing this is a question that often comes to me, is how do I create a self-care or a mindfulness practice or a centering practice in pandemic times, when I'm like, most of my classes are online. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I haven't seen teachers doing, and I urge all of them, is check in with your class. How are you feeling? Check in with just like you're checking in with yourself, check in with your class. How are they feeling? What's the mood today? And again, it circles back to name it to tame it. You're helping them to name their feelings and tame them. And create circles of compassion. You can ask your class to do one compassionate act for somebody at home, or send a compliment out to a fellow student, because you're still not getting to know each other. Especially in a remote learning setup, teachers don't really know their students as well as they would have done had they been in the classroom. So create a network of, a circle of compassion, a circle of trust, because all of these things eventually will lead you to knowing more about your students, helping your students know their peers, and creating that beautiful relationship that we have to now replicate on to the remote world. So those are the things that I would like to end with.
Awesome. And I just want to say again, thank you so much for number one, the encouraging messages that you've ended with, and the strategies, but also what you've shared tonight. And I would like to say that anyone who wants to even learn more from both Shilpi and Dorothy, both of you are presenting on the Teacher Summit. So if you haven't registered for that, make sure that you do. You can go to teachersummit.com, register today. It's free. And you can dive into the amazing sessions that both of these women have put together. I guarantee you will get a ton out of it. I've been privileged enough to watch both of them already. So I would say, if you haven't done that, make sure that you do. And if you want to find out more information, I just want to throw your websites up again, if that's okay. if you want to find more information about Shilpi and everything that she's doing, head over to fablefy.com. Again, you will not regret it. It is awesome. And as I've been diving into it, I absolutely love the quick mindfulness stuff that you have there. But there's so much information on there for people to explore. So I would encourage you to do that. Visit fablefy.com even after this conversation. And then ifireup.com as well. I know there's a ton of things on there. There's a lot of learning opportunities, a lot of a ton of resources as well in many different areas, I believe. So
they can get grad credits to take a course, and it's economical. So that's a big focus on that site too. So they could take a SEL course that they want to learn more about and get grad credit for it. So that's kind of nice.
And I agree. I think that is something not even more than kind of nice. That's pretty fantastic to be able to get the grad credits and things like that. So if you're someone searching for the grad credits, I would say to definitely jump on there and check out some of those courses.
Chuck, before we go, I just have to say this because I know Shilpi's all about kindness and sharing, and I want to give a quick example that 2 teachers did. One teacher in our building, he's 5th grade, and he decided to share the kindness, share the love, share the gratitude. He had those 5th graders make a little small poster for every staff member in the building, and then the kids put Post-it notes. Now, remember, some of those kids had been K through 5, so it was really neat to see those comments, and everybody got one. I tell you, those were really impactful. And then the rocks, the other one had painted rocks, and they put them out like the kindness, and they were cool. The kids liked those, to find those rocks. So just some things that you can spread the gratitude and love within your school. So start thinking of something this week. And Tatiana said, hey, what'd you do this week that was just fun for you? And she's right. Well, how can you treat yourself? What do you do to treat yourself? I did go finally get a coffee at a coffee shop and drove through. That was one thing I did. I don't know if she's asking me, but I'm telling her, but she's right. That's self-care too. So I'm done. Those are my that's it.
Awesome. And I'll be honest with you, I got a pizza and
water, drink your water, Chuck.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I agree. I think what Tatiana said is so true. What have you done for you today? So something to think about. And the rock idea, I actually love that because where I live, my neighborhood, what they had done is the kids in the neighborhood actually did that. They all painted rocks and they hid them around the neighborhood. Wow. And we have a Facebook group, and what they did was they announced it. Hey, find a rock, and anytime someone found one, the kids replaced it. So it was actually super, super cool. I love that, and that's something we can do with our students, right? We can do that. So absolutely love it. I again want to say thank you so much to both of you for taking the time tonight to chat, and I hope that everyone dives into your sessions. We start on Monday, which is awesome. But I hope that everyone dives into your sessions and also goes into your websites. So I just want to say thank you, and I hope you have a great night.
Yep, you too.
Bye, everyone.
Having us. Bye, everybody.